Welcome to the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, where there's always another secret.
Welcome back, Sixers, to another episode of the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies. This is episode 166. Today is July 16th, 2024. I'm Bill, and I'm joined, as always, by my Albatrossian co-hosts, Amy and Jordan. Welcome.
I have never been compared to an albatross before.
You can never say that again, truthfully.
True.
Yeah.
Before we get started, we do want to remind our listeners that the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies is very, very much not a spoiler-free podcast. That means that if there is something in the Cosmere that you haven't read and you're worried about hearing spoilers, you really, really will want to go read those first and then come back and join the discussion. Obviously not tonight because these books are thick and long and we don't expect that superhuman feat of you, but we still love you just the same.
I mean, this one's smaller, but this is one of the small ones.
Mm-hmm. Tonight we are continuing our Stormlight reread with Dawnshard. For those of you who listen to the podcast recordings or watch the videos on YouTube after the fact, we do want to remind you that it's possible for listeners to interact with us live via chat as we record each episode at www.youtube.com/Cosmere Studies. We record every other Monday night, starting at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. So please join us and take an active part in the discussion. The show is made possible by the support of our listeners and patrons. Our show will, of course, continue to be free, but if you want to help us out, head over to patreon.com/Cosmere Studies. Even pledging $1 or $2 per episode is really helpful. We would love it if you'd be willing to do that. It helps us as we continue to work to improve the show and just keep things moving forward. Patrons will get immediate access to our Discord channel where you can talk about the show and the Cosmere with our other listeners. We've got a great community over there. We've got some really cool discussions going on. And you also get early access to bonus episodes, exclusive access to other bonus content, and other good stuff. This week, we want to thank specifically our newest patron, Jonah H. Welcome. Thank you so much. You're amazing.
Welcome indeed.
So, as we move forward, Jordan, why don't we go into our announcements? How are we doing on our push to full monetization?
So we hit the followers count. Thank you all for getting us there. We've slightly ticked up on that too, so that's nice. But the bigger one is we're trying to get the watch hours, and we are almost officially 2/3 of the way there. We are at 3,664. So we started at 3,000 going to 4,000. So
very cool. Very, very cool. Thank y'all. You are amazing. You are wonderful. We appreciate you. We cannot express how much we appreciate you.
We can.
Thank you.
We can't sufficiently express
okay.
how much we appreciate them.
Sorry, my degree's not English, so I'm not an expert in these things.
When we get to the physics of gratitude, then we'll come to you.
Yeah, and that's your strong.
Excellent. I'll be honest, I've been waiting for this topic.
Excellent. All right, well, on that note, let's move on into the Cosmere Thing of the Week. I don't know why that's so much quieter on the stream than it is when I edit it together, but hey, works for me. So our Cosmere Thing of the Week this week is something that I came across that made me so incredibly happy. It is a website called Cosmeredle. So if any of you are familiar with the word game craze that went around for a while and is still going of Wordle, where you have like a certain number of guesses to and based on how accurate your guess is, you get clues. Somebody put together a game of Cosmeredle where you put in a character and it will list 5 categories where it can match or be different. So if the name is the match, that's the one that you need to get at the end, but it'll also try and match their home planet, the first book that they appeared in, their abilities, and their race. So, and it is specific. So like if you say if they're a human, but they're a ska, it'll show up as being different from a human who is a noble.
Yeah. So if you're looking on the screen right now, and I need to remember to just make a picture of this right now for Bill so that this doesn't get lost. I'm currently playing the game right now. I started with Eshadai, got nothing right. So then I moved to Kelsier, and all I got was yellow human ska. So I'm like, okay, I got to get human character from a different planet. Went to Silence, still yellow. Went to Dusk from Six of the Dusk, and now I have everything except for who it actually is. And I'm realizing I have forgotten the names of every other character in Six of the Dusk.
I've forgotten a lot of names too, yeah.
It took me 13 guesses to get this one.
Ooh. Like,
But-
I've seen some people discussing and saying, like, if you know who the character is, but you're blanking on your name, they don't think it's cheating as long as you're cool with it to, like, go look up the name, you know? Like, as long as you know who it is. But it's
Yeah.
totally your own rules with how you're doing it.
Yeah.
So,
They do have a list of characters that can be guessed.
that you can pull down or
go
whatever.
through.
It's quite expansive.
Indeed, it is. But it took me 13 for this most recent one, but either yesterday or the day before, I got it in 2.
Wow.
So thank you very much.
I have not played it yet, so we'll see how I do it with this game when I eventually try it, because
It's fun. Quiz games are fun.
It is fun. And Jordan will talk about that at a different time.
It's a secret tool we use for later.
So let's move on to Sanderson news. So Isles of the Emberdark, the current draft is at 5% as of a week ago. His goal is to be done editing that by the end of the month. He's also currently signing the tip-in pages. So had you ever heard this term before?
I
Either
hadn't,
of you?
but I had to explain it to my husband Josh to kind of explain
Yeah.
what they were versus the other kinds.
So I've seen something similar in a yearbook when I was younger. Basically what it is it's an extra page that they print and then it's bound in after the fact. So it's not like the normal binding, and it's a little bit different kind of application.
Yeah.
But basically the reason Brandon's doing this instead of going through signing the books like he has in the past is it lets him do a lot more of them, since he doesn't have to have them laid out, filling up a warehouse and everything. He can just sign these while he's podcasting and streaming, et cetera, et cetera. And so he's going to be doing 15,000 of those.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So he's doing a lot more than he normally would. But apparently this is how he's planning to do all the normal releases moving forward. So
Yeah, and he's making sure to give some to like Barnes and Noble and stuff like that too, so they can. It's not just through his stuff directly.
And that's something he's done in the past. So
well, heck, he'll go hide them in.
Well, those he doesn't take them and hide them in the bookstores. Those he'll just, when he's traveling,
He just signs them
sneaks.
individually. Yeah,
That's what he calls brandalizing.
yes.
It definitely gets me to go to the bookstores whenever I'm in an airport. It's like, I just want to see.
Although he doesn't travel as much lately.
He doesn't.
So,
Yeah.
but since we're in, he's local. Whenever I fly out, it's just like, okay, well, we should check the bookstores because he may have been here. And let's see, Frugal Wizard just came out in paperback because it's been long enough for that since that one came out, because the world is crazy.
It's been over a year.
It has been a year.
Is Yumi and Sunlit Man, are those in paperback yet or no?
Oh no, those will be a year after their public release, so not their deluxe release.
Okay, that makes more sense. Gotcha.
Yeah. Let's see. Mary Robinette Kowal, who's been on Writing Excuses with Brandon, she also co-wrote the original with him.
That was really good. I liked that.
Yeah. She has a Kickstarter of a short story collection that Brandon wanted to recommend because he likes to promote his friends, and honestly, who can fault him for that?
Was that the lady astronaut one? Is that what that one was?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's the Lady Astronaut one. It's the collection.
That was what he called it.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is that what it's actually called that, or does it have a different title?
That's how Brandon described it.
So
that's how Brandon described it. Let's see. Dragonsteel is sponsoring a League of Legends team. They are called the Maryville University Dragonsteel in the NACL League, and they are currently undefeated, or as of 2 weeks.
I'm sorry, they're in the Salt League? No, wait.
NACL.
NACL, yeah. That's kind of funny, actually, for League of Legends.
Like, I started questioning myself if I remembered my chemical formula correct.
I had forgotten that until you said that. but
That's
yeah,
amazing.
that's salt.
I hadn't even put that together.
Like, salt is sodium chloride, right? I'm not imagining things.
No, you're very, very, very right on that.
Now I'm looking up NACL League. I have to know why it's called
League of
this.
Legends. Yeah,
North American Challengers League. This is on purpose. They could have used anything.
they
instead of
have to have
challenges.
done that on purpose.
They know their branding. They know what's
Like
up.
they've got to have like a subtitle "Get Salty" or something. Anyway, so yeah, they're doing very well, or they were as of 2 weeks ago. So, and Dan is kind of the one who's spearheading that.
Mhm.
So I'm sorry, which team was it again?
The Maryville Dragonsteel.
Maryville University Dragonsteel.
Well,
Gotcha.
so they're at Maryville University, but Dan was calling them just the Maryville Dragonsteel.
Okay. I don't know.
So
Who
this
knows?
is so there's this gets a bit into the weeds, but some sports aren't official.
Yeah, then this one is.
So they're affiliated with the university. I doubt they're actually sponsored.
They're actually
by
the
university.
only team that is a group of college students. Most of them aren't college students who are playing.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Let's see. The World Hopper Ball is coming soon. There will be news on that, I believe, this Friday, the 19th.
Ooh,
So
that would be Friday.
I'm still wondering what the heck is going on here. I'm wondering if we're going to get Jordan into a tux. So
It'd have to be, some form of like Miss Tux.
indeed. Amy, we may
No.
need to commission you.
Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. We'll see.
Let's see. Dragonsteel has an unpaid paid intern, who's a paid unpaid intern.
Unpaid paid
Donald.
intern Donald, yeah.
Yes, he has created a highlight video for Brandon's first stream of Elden Ring DLC, and I think there are more coming. Brandon is continuing to play that because he loves that game. Also, Brandon's character is named High Priest Thog of the Church of the Bonk, which I kind of love.
It's fun.
Let's see. The Words of Radiance Leatherbound campaign is going to be fulfilling soon. If you want to change any add-ons, or if you haven't filled out your survey, that will be closed and unable to change by the end of July.
So
So
make
do
sure your
that
address is
ASAP.
right. Yeah.
Yes, make sure your address is right, and if you have make sure you have all your add-ons in. I tried to put in add-ons after I had taken my survey, and it said I was locked out, but I was able to email them at Dragonsteel, and they said, okay, if you need to make changes, let me know, and I'll do it manually. So I think that's something you can still do if you're locked out of making changes. But again, the end of that is coming up soon, so do it ASAP. Speaking of Kickstarters, though, or crowdfunding, the Stormlight RPG Kickstarter is coming up next month, and we're actually going to be having Katie Payne come on to talk about it with us. She did a lot of work with them on this, so I'm excited about that. So on our August 12th episode, she'll be coming on. There are pre-orders up for The Most Boring Book Ever, which looks like so much fun to me, and Wind and Truth as well. Those are both pre-orderable now on, I think, on Dragonsteel as well as on Amazon. And speaking of Amazon, Prime Day is apparently going to have some of Brandon's books on sale. I don't know exactly which ones, but Prime Day is July 16th and 17th. I don't know why they call it Prime Day because it's 2 days, but hey, whatever.
That's what it is.
But yeah, so if you're listening to this the day that it comes out, then definitely go check those out. If you're listening to it after the fact, I'm sorry, it's too late. Let's see. Brandon is currently on vacation, so who knows how his next update is going to go. But yeah, that's the Sanderson news.
Yeah, there we go.
So yeah,
That was a lot of Sanderson
That was
news.
a lot.
it's 2 weeks worth.
Yeah.
So,
that's true.
all right. Well, let's move into our main discussion. Let's talk about Dawnshard.
Oh shoot! I was supposed to read that.
Yeah.
We'll wait. Go. Just listen to it on like 20 times speed.
So it's for those audio people. I'm wearing the Dragonsteel shirt where it has all the different little symbols, and there's Cherry on one of them. And my daughter is reading her way through, and she's just started Oathbringer, and she's like, "What is that thing?" And she's pointing at Cherry, and I'm like, You will
You'll know.
see. I'm like, she's like, when does that one pop up? And I'm like, I don't remember exactly, but once you find it, you'll know. You'll know what that is.
It's frankly kind of shocking we don't have Cheery plushies at this point.
Yet.
No.
I would not be surprised if that comes at this Dragonsteel.
That's what I keep I know they're supposed to be with like the VIP stuff. They get like there's a Chol plushie.
There is a Chol plushie.
And I think a Chol would be easier than Cheery because Cheery, if they do it right, it's going to have all those segments, which is a lot more sewing work.
Whenever I hear Chol, am I the only person who thinks of Parasect from Pokemon? Because that's where my brain always goes.
I could see that. But more rounded shell.
Yeah.
Nah.
If it wasn't a mushroom and if it was a shell instead.
Oh, wait. Yeah, yes. And yes, that's exactly what I pictured, actually. Yeah. That's actually what I pictured, yes. So yeah, I am I'm looking forward to that. I would be absolutely shocked if we don't see a Cheery plushie
someday.
Just considering how many plushies they released, like all the Doomslug plushies
varieties,
last year. I would bet that we'll get something a Cheery
someday. I keep toying with trying to make one just for me, but I have other things to keep taking precedent, and that would be a lot of work.
I would love it if they have like one that actually clips to your shoulder.
Just do it a magnet.
You could have a Cheery on your shoulder.
And then each year they release a new one that keeps getting bigger.
Until eventually they have one like those giant bears you can get at Costco.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Or maybe drone technology just gets far enough that we have the Cheery drone.
We have the Pokemon evolutions. We have Cheery,
You gave me a bad cosplay idea, guys. No.
Okay, I'm going to say right now, don't do drone cosplays. It's not going to be a good idea.
I'm doing that as something else. Dang it. I got to write it down now.
In all seriousness, I forgot how short this book was.
Oh, it's great.
It's very crisp and swift.
Yeah,
crisp and swift. Now I want to have a D&D character named Crispin Swift.
There we go. I think that might be a title. Might be a title. We'll see.
Anyway, this go around, because this is first time gone back to it. Maybe this is just kind of a weird thing to say, but I don't think I appreciated last time how everyone had character arcs in this story.
It's true.
Like everyone, because you had obviously Rison. That's clear, but Nickley had one. Huyo had one. The Lopin had one. The ship's captain, whose name I forget, had one.
Rushu had a bit of one.
Yeah, Rushu had a bit of
the
one.
The captain's name is hard to say because it's Thalen.
Visled?
Hold on.
No, Vistim is her Babs.
Give me a minute. I'll look
That's
it up.
right. Vistim's.
So there's, wait.
I'm going to beat you to
it. I just call her the captain.
Hold on. Where's it at?
No, I got to beat her to it. This is important.
She is the captain now.
Drolwyn. Drolwan.
Yeah.
Drolwyn.
I can't say it. I just would read it in my head, and it was great.
Yeah.
Kilsted is like the second in command, too.
Because I combined their names, I think,
possibly,
in my head.
I thought it was Kilsted was the captain.
Reread in chat is speaking truth. The Lopin made me feel emotions. Yes, there were some good emotional arcs in this one. I like that we get to see what's his name again.
Huyo?
No.
Yalb.
It starts with Yalb, and it's like, oh, he's still alive. Good. And like two other people.
I want to know. I want to know if Shalon knows.
I don't think she does.
She probably doesn't.
She's probably too busy doing everything that she's doing.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think it'd do her a lot of good to know that Yalb made it.
I think it could too.
It would, yeah. But I fear she's a little everywhere and everyone. So.
Everywhere, all over.
Yes.
Everyone, everywhere. It's the sequel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but no, like just, I liked Cord too, and even Nickley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked, even though I was like, oh, it's you, and I was like, oh, but I like
Well-
you because you're not trying to be terrible. You've got
And
problems.
Brandon did his thing again, where he lets us look into a new culture by showing us the exception.
He's the youngest.
Because he's the youngest. He's the one who doesn't want to kill them and is kind of pushing back. He's
Yeah,
a
and
little
there's-
bit different.
And there's like,
Well,
I think they said there were like, they numbered them and he's like number 33 or 23 or something like that. And there were like 3 of them that were not part of the collective. And I'm wondering.
One of them is the one from Edge Dancer.
I was wondering, I was like, one's from Edge Dancer, right? It's that one.
Well, because they call him, I don't remember what his name is, but something the traitor or the.
Hold on.
They gave him a title, which the Sleepless like title.
I don't think he was the title. I think there was a different one that was the title.
Oh,
Wasn't it?
I could have sworn he got a mention.
I believe he got named. I think he's one that like left their fellowship.
He's not part of the group.
Yeah, I don't think he was the traitor. Gosh, now their names are also really hard to say.
It's very true.
Because they're like 11 letters long and they're all weird. Shoot, what is his name?
Let's see.
Sleepless.
Arklo.
Arklo? Okay.
Yeah. Well, because they give him like his full name, which is Arklo something.
So hold on. Arclomedarian.
Arclomedarian.
Yeah. Does not accept their authority, although he's considered one of the true traitors and is still liked. So he's not considered one of the true traitors.
Okay.
But there's 3 that are dissidents, though all 4 do not accept Yelamazin's authority. So there's 3 that are fully separated, and then there's Arklo, who's still okay, but has stepped away, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in the middle of making up his own philosophy about people being body parts.
Yeah, they're creepy. They're just so creepy.
So what I get is you don't like bugs.
I want to see a conversation between a Sleepless and a Kandra.
Oh, I sure hope that happens, because I mean we could see it later for sure. Because we do in the.
Well, we've seen a Kandra on a boat and we've seen a Sleepless on a boat. So.
Well, and we've seen.
And now I own a boat.
What was it in the secret novel, the number 5? There's potential there too.
Oh, in Emberdark.
Emberdark, yeah.
Sleepless on a Ship is it's going to be the B movie that they finally make for the Cosmere.
It's their rip-off version of Sleepless in Seattle.
Oh man, I was Stakes on a Plane, but
Sleepless in Seattle just fits the title thing, closer.
Yes,
Sleepless on a Schooner.
Sleepless in Silverlight. There we go.
Probably are.
Well, yes, but I was trying to go for the
in Elantris.
alliteration.
Elantris has the cadence.
It's true. I was going for the A. Anyway, or the S.
Anyway,
but no, just the Sleepless perspective is very interesting. One, because they are a very old race with very young, well, relatively to their, reckoning, members, which is, not typical. Like, we look at the heralds and they're all just ancient. Yeah. And so there is still that whole learned wisdom, but because they are old enough, they're like, okay, you're younger, you will learn, but they do listen to him because they respect his expertise in this regard.
Yeah, they're like, you're younger, you're more malleable, you can actually learn better about this.
Well, and I like that even though a lot of them are just very, negative, like we have to kill him now. It's just, it's no choice, which the more you've done it, the easier it becomes type of thing. Or as Kelsier says, the first kill's always the hardest. Although he said that when he was trying to kill a second god. So, Kelsier things. But the thing that's interesting is even though the other ones come across as very negative and hardcore and we just have to do this,
yeah.
They keep deferring to Nickley and on votes and being, and so I think on a lot, the thing is, while they are very negative on what they think will happen, they do keep trying to do the less violent option. They don't want, like, it's one of these things you can just tell they don't want to do this.
Right. Well, because
They feel backed into a corner.
They're trying to protect the Cosmere.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're willing to do, unsavory things, but they'd still rather not, which is a good sign.
Yeah, I'd much rather have them than other people in charge, making decisions.
Well, it reminds me a lot of SICS, actually, where it's the absolute minimum amount of applied force is what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
And the problem is humans are very curious things that like to get places.
Yeah, and that's a big part of why Risson was able to negotiate and be like, yeah, you thought of this particular plan, but it's going to backfire this way and this way and this way. And just like people are going to keep coming because it's not going to get less interesting to them.
Yeah. By the way, I think our rom-com should be Sleepless on Scadrial.
Ooh.
Dang it, you're right.
I do like that one.
But yeah, there really are some interesting just character developments. Everyone really does have a journey, and which makes sense because this book is about a journey.
It is a journey, yeah. I mean, does Rushu get much growth?
Rushu has.
I think she does.
Yeah, I think she has some growth. Honestly, I still ship her with Huyo, but who knows?
They could be cute. I don't know that Rushu go for it.
I ship her with Lope.
Although I don't know if Huyo is married or not. So.
Yeah, we don't know his relationship status, but he doesn't.
He's not. No, we do. We know he's single because Lopin makes jokes about how when he's getting eaten, it's like it's only slightly uglier than the women who.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So
he is single. So it could happen.
I honestly, I love. Let's see. It's Hushu is what I was calling it in my head.
Oh goodness. Oh, now I just see like Mushu, a little dragon. But yeah, that's fine.
No, that's Cherry Cherry's boyfriend.
I know.
But no, because this is also the one that, and knowing now, but it's been fun going through the other ones where we now know that Huyo is the smart one, but we've never been able to know that because he doesn't ever talk. And so there's really no way for us to know he's the smart one outside of the one time he messes with Rock's stew it works out.
I think Brandon did a good job of highlighting, because a lot of times it's very easy to write people off who don't speak the local language as slow because they speak slowly. They have to pause and think, and the brain just kind of interprets these things automatically as you're unintelligent. And it's just like, no, they're translating from a different language. And
and apparently this Alethi just does not click for him. And I liked that there kept being a couple moments where it's like, oh, you speak Veden? Oh, you speak this? Oh, you speak, and they can just go like poor Cord.
Well, it's also it's also easy to forget when you have so many ways in the Cosmere to hack not speaking the language.
Dalinar.
Because we see Dalinar can just get around it whenever he wants with the translation tokens. They can do it whenever they want on Scadrial now.
Yeah.
And it's just one of these things you forget that language is a real thing and it's kind of difficult to learn. Well, and the thing that I really liked is how when we get it from the Lopin's perspective and he goes back to his bunk and it's just him and Huyo. And Huyo, we haven't really heard talk outside of, just a few grunts and
phrases,
and
and just a little bit here and there.
Yeah, what little he knows. And then suddenly he's like, I do conjecture that this will, it's just this very scholarly, and it's one of those things. I didn't think that, he was stupid or anything. It was just, I didn't think anything because Huyo was just a character in the background.
Just another Lopin cousin,
Yeah, which they're all cousins, and that's that's Kaladin's.
I did like that we learned that apparently in Herdazian, they have different words for different kinds of cousins. And I was like, so it fits into the culture too. That's great, and the language, awesome. So I just like that little.
They have words for all the different types of cousins.
Yeah. I get that,
but no, it was. But the other thing I liked, because Lopin's storyline for me particularly clicks because I'm someone who can sometimes speak out of turn and do things for people's amusement. And I only jibe at my friends and stuff like that. And so his whole storyline, and especially his swearing the third ideal at the non-dramatic moment.
Alone in his cabin afterwards, like, what? Now we do
the
it.
second time.
But I also like it's very poignant what his oath is, because it's I will protect the he's like I'll protect people even from myself, and it's just sort of that's a very interesting and perfect oath for Lopen.
Yeah, well, especially because he's definitely not doing it. He's not even doing it as a thing like, oh, he's going to too far. He's being indelicate. He's not thinking and being careful about it. He's just saying things at all times without really putting a filter on whatsoever.
Yeah.
And that's why for him, it didn't because it's all about growth is what these oaths are about. And so even though he could very seriously swear Kaladin's third ideal,
and he tries.
He could do it at all, but that because he's always been that guy, there's no growth to it.
Well, and the thing is, each of the Radiants that we've seen swear that oath has sworn a slightly different variant, because Kaladin's is just I will protect even those I hate. Teft's is I will protect even those I hate, even if the person I hate is myself.
Yeah.
Huyo's is he looks directly at Lopen, but with the Lopen doesn't hate.
Yeah, he does.
The Lopen doesn't seem like he can hate. Like he's just this
positive, bubbly guy,
jolly guy who even the people that he technically should hate, he's amused by them more than actually feeling hate. And so his has to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's the other thing I loved was when he goes into his cabin to think about it. He has it's a line something to the effect of Huyo could have saved me this pain, but he trusted me with it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to take it very seriously. Mm-hmm. And it shows what their relationship is, that they are truly very close and they do trust each other. Mm-hmm. And it's not in the way most of Bridge 4 trusts each other, which is I trust you to have my back, which is why Moash's betrayal is so, poignant. Mm-hmm. But these two, it's I trust you with my vulnerability. Mm-hmm. Well, and that's that, and especially for someone who goes so quickly and sometimes could be a little more biting than he intends to. That's something that the Lopen takes very seriously.
Yeah, it gives us some extra nuance though to how the third oath of the Windrunners works, because it's basically I will protect those who cannot protect themselves, even if I don't want to.
It takes some self-restraint on his part that he has to pull himself in and think about it and take that second. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he says, storm it. He thought, no, I got to take this like Bridge 4 arrow straight to the heart, but I can pull it out and heal. Huyo could have held the truth back, laughed everything off, but he trusted Lopen with this wound. So it's...
Mm-hmm. It's just a very good line. And it's not something I ever expected, because look, he's the comedic relief of the team.
Mm-hmm.
And so you don't expect Shaggy to get some
deep moment, there.
Yeah, deep moment.
I did.
Oh my goodness! And the Sleepless are totally a Scooby-Doo villain. Think about it. We don't know. They're protecting a place that doesn't. They're trying to pretend there's nothing valuable there, so they're hiding the ball. They're wearing a disguise. They're totally a Scooby-Doo villain.
They have all these diversions and everything.
They're the mild-mannered person who would have gotten away with it if it weren't for that meddling Lopen.
Yeah.
Or Risson or whoever.
Yeah.
and your not AVR. What is it called?
Oh, Larkin.
Larkin.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. No, but the thing that I really think was really cool about having Lopen in this is he's a very interesting foil for Risson.
That's what I was
because Lopen is the guy who his hand had been cut off for a long time.
His arm, even not even. Yeah.
Yeah, his arm, but he never thought of himself as one-armed. Even though he made one-armed Herdazian jokes, he still always, like, he would talk about how my hand, wherever it is doing this. Like, he always pictured that hand as still part of him.
Well, and I love he doesn't refer to it as his right hand and his left hand. It's his normal hand and his radiant hand.
Because I mean, yeah, that's what it is.
But having him there when Rissyn is having to face her situation, because she hasn't been able to be healed even with edge dancers and truth watchers because the wound is too old, and
she's accepted it to a point. Yeah,
exactly. And so she's kind of taken that bit of identity. And again, it gives us a kind of interesting look into the way that Cosmere healing works.
Yeah. And I'm sure he had lots of sensitivity and beta readers
well, he talks about at the beginning. He specifically got beta readers that were paraplegic to help with the character. And he actually says something to the effect of, not only did it help, make it more realistic, they actually made suggestions that I just never would have thought about.
Yeah, which, not gonna lie, like reading some of that stuff, I was like, dang, I've probably done that to people, and I don't like that I have assumed wrong or tried to be too helpful. And I'm sure they have probably not thought of me as being harmful when I'm doing that, but it's really hard to not want to do that.
Well, there's sort of a running thing throughout this entire book about making the best of an imperfect situation. And we see this is the very rare book where literally all sides here, there isn't anyone who's acting evilly or being forced to do something against their will. It's literally everyone trying to do what they think is right. And the impasse comes in that they have what they think at the time are opposite goals. And so they all are having to make the best of negative situations. Julio's having to deal with the Lopen. Kaladin would prefer to send himself, but he can't because he's too busy. So he's sending the only two Radiants he has that can swim. He is also and then you have Cord, who wants to help her people, thinks her dad should do it, but he is so stuck in the tradition of the people that he will not fight. And so she's going to make the best of the situation. Rissyn is not the best captain for a ship. Look, being, chairbound is not ideal for the high seas.
No.
Let's be realistic. But everyone's just making the best of a bad situation. And that's Brandon's optimism that if everyone keeps trying, we'll get there. And it's not that you won't have pain and terror on the way. I mean, they lost some of the members of the ship.
Yeah. They lost 3.
I think there were like 3 of them.
Yeah, 3 that right before the negotiation finished.
But you just, you make the best of it. And that's like, because even like I really liked Rushu's part for this for the same reason. Rushu's very some people have said autistic. I think she's more ADD coded with how they do it.
Hyper-focuses.
Where she gets hyper focuses, and she's like, "Can I?" And then she just starts doing it, and Rissyn's like, "I'll actually, I would wait." I asked though. It's like, but you didn't
wait for a response. Yeah.
Oh. Navani's always telling me stuff
like,
about this.
I keep getting told that.
I want to try something. And you see her like, okay, I'm going to try something. And you see her trying to be more considerate about it. Very similar. And this is why I kind of like her and Lopen for my crack ship, because both are very indelicate people who get ideas and just start going with it.
Yeah, that's
but very
like
different ways. That's why I love
it. That's why I think it's a powder keg.
Yeah, I think it'd be an interesting relationship, but I don't know that it would go well for very long. So.
I also love that she wants to sleep on a bed of treasure and see if it's like this. I think it'd be uncomfortable. So do I, but I want to find out.
They're like, you can't even have money. She's like, I just want to sleep on it. I don't need to own it.
Yeah. No, I love Rushu. She's just such a great character.
Mm-hmm.
I also love when we get the scene of Huyo and Lopin in their cabin, and he's messing with it, and Lopin's over here. You better not be messing with that. And I'm sure I can put it back together. And it's like I put together clocks. It's like, and how many of those clocks have you disassembled? Have you ever gotten back together? It's like, well, there was that one.
But it's like, yeah, but it was always off.
And then it's not working, and it's like,
no.
Why you have rot for brains?
Ah.
I'm going to tell her you did this, and I'll be like, I told him not to, but unfortunately, my cousin has rot for brains.
And then it turns out it's a good thing.
Well, the thing is, this is actually, I am 100% convinced of this. So whenever you're teaching a sinusoidal motion of a circle, they always show an animation of a circle, like of a pen going around a circle, and it's like, but this is what the sign looks like, and you just see it going back and forth, because that's exactly what happened with Huyo. And I'm convinced that, like, Brandon saw that and said, "Hey." Well, and I also like what Rushu says about how she wouldn't have made this discovery if she wasn't thinking about Rissen's issue.
Yeah, this is not something that she thought about the application of, yeah.
And so it's because it's very true. Science is, most of the best jumps are made through mistakes.
Yep.
And where suddenly you're like, not only did I not expect that to happen, I wouldn't even guess this. Why did that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, it's like I've heard one of the best ways to learn a city is to go out into the middle of it and get lost and then find your way out. One of the best ways to just figure things out is to figure out just experiment and not be afraid to mess up.
Yeah. I just know I would have a hard time not freaking out if I was lost in the middle of a city, but that's me.
But
no, it was interesting. Picking up on more of this, it felt more obvious this time, like with Nickley was trying to dissuade Rissen and the crew from wanting to go. It was knowing it was him, and everything else makes it so much more poignant. And I mean, it helps that you know that he's sleepless too.
Rissen figured it out a lot faster than I remember her figuring it out too. Just reading it the first time, I just didn't remember her figuring it out as quickly as she really did.
Mm-hmm. And I did like that she found a way to turn like a positive on everything, which was Vistim's teaching, that she's like, oh, we have wormy meal, we can sell it to these guys.
Well, that was something. So I started rereading Rhythm of War. And speaking of wormy meal, at the very start of Rhythm of War, we get Navani's perspective of the party, where there's, it's chaos because, Gavilar's like, oh, of course he said they could play the drums.
Go for it. Yeah.
And all those things. But one of the complications was, out of nowhere, their meal was wormy, all 3 barrels.
Oh,
but luckily Amaram had some stores that they could borrow. And it was fresh off this book,
they're sleepless doing stuff.
Yeah, and I'm just like, but I'm stuck. Why are the sleepless trying to stop the treaty? Do they know that there's an assassination coming, or is this about Sons of Honor stuff? Do they not know Amaram has the stores, or do they know and they're trying to? What are they up to?
Yeah, I mean, there's several possibilities for who they're trying to mess up here or make look bad or any of those things, because we don't know enough about everything they're trying to do.
And like, we actually have got more lore from the Sleepless than a lot of people realize, because the back blurb on every main Stormlight book was written from a Sleepless perspective.
Yeah, like,
and so like they talk about like I said, the main ones.
This one isn't though. Yep. No,
but
I was just confirming.
You see them like naming,
giving like titles kind of to people,
giving titles to like Kaladin and I think is Shalanda just the liar?
Oh, I don't even know.
Or
I think she is. Well, because Navani's the mother of machines.
Oh,
which is an absolutely metal name.
It is. That's true.
I mean, literally, because
Like-
a lot of machines.
That definitely could be an Elden Ring boss.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
But I find all the titles that they give to people interesting instead of names. It makes me wonder if there's something cultural with them where titles are far more important than names because names are given, titles are earned, or something.
It's got an almost tarot-like feel to it, where like there are certain cards and you're just like, okay, this is this and it means this and it fills this role. And like I'm not an expert on it, but I've come across it a few times in other things that I've read.
Speaking of languages, there's something Brandon does in this book that I noticed this time that I didn't notice previous time. So we were talking about, I believe it was Amy was talking about how, they all speak, oh, you speak Vaden, you speak, and they're going back and forth. But we actually hear, especially with Cord and Huyo, them try to speak Alethi. And something that I've always noticed is it's difficult to write proper non-native speakers speaking a different language and do it well. Not only did Brandon do that this time, the way Huyo gets it wrong is different than the way Cord gets it wrong. Because Cord's always saying he instead of like it, which is like, oh, okay, so her language must be a gendered language like Spanish or something like that.
And Rock did the same thing.
Yeah. But it was because we're seeing it on both sides. It was just something that it's interesting that not only do they speak it wrong, but they speak it wrong differently, which is 100% how it would happen. But that's a difficult idea to convey.
Yeah.
One thing
go ahead.
No, Amy, you go ahead.
So I my only aside was I was going to say in the playtest for the Stormlight RPG, one of my characters that I did was a horn eater, and I was trying really hard to try and make it so that her Alethi was not fluent, and that was a very difficult task to do and kind of not make it. We weren't streaming it or anything, but I didn't want to come off as offensive or anything like that by doing it wrong. So it's very interesting.
The horn eaters would get really offended.
Oh, I know they would. Yeah. So anyway,
it's very Shallan and Boots.
Yeah. Anyway.
But no, the one thing I will say regarding the audiobook is Kramer, he pulls like a Cockney accent for Herdazians, and I that's very different from the way I tend to read it myself, just because Brandon has mentioned that Herdazians are actually very Mexican inspired.
Yeah, that's what I was
so I tend to hear more of a Mexican accent as I'm reading, and that actually becomes particularly more so when it comes to the Mink, when we hear from him. But so I just, when I hear Michael Kramer read it, I'm like, this doesn't sound right. And the diction, like you were talking about the words that he uses and everything, kind of fit with that accent in my head. So Brandon really has gone subtly in to make it so that non-native, quote, English speakers, and I say English speakers because that's the language that we're reading it in.
Yeah.
That they sound distinct, they sound different, and they sound believable.
Yeah. I mean, you could definitely look at something that like just them talking and be able to identify who it was, which is a good sign of writing.
Yeah, I now fully see the Lopen as a Michael Pena. and I want him to play, like, I want to get Michael Pena to do a Luis like introduction for like the next Stormlight book.
That would be amazing. Yes,
I would love that. I would love that so much. No, but I
that's my fan casting.
I do. I'm for it. I do enjoy Huyo's tinkering, though, just like, because like you said, the way he tinkers and he just sort of pulls it apart and he plays with it and he figures it out, and then he has an oops moment, and then Rushu sees it and he's just like, do you realize what you've done? This is amazing.
This is great. Yeah, no, it's funny. I almost wonder if Huyo had not been, if Lopen hadn't gotten into Bridge 4, if Huyo would have become a Dustbringer because how much he likes to tinker with stuff. But
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
definitely could have.
Yeah. Oh, and I'd forgotten at the
But-
beginning. There's you find out that the Reshi King is a Dustbringer, and Lopin's like, "Hey, so yeah, please talk to us about stuff, but don't mention that little tidbit."
Because we don't know many Dustbringers, and so
and he's like, "Don't talk to the ones that are already here, because just because."
They got bad
They got bad
vibes.
vibes.
And we know from what's her bucket?
Malata?
The one that's part of the
Malata.
the one that's part of the diagram, that a lot of the Ashspren are plotting revenge.
Yeah, which does not.
But
sound
I
good.
like seeing positive examples of Dustbringers. I feel like Dustbringers, a lot of people, because the only Dustbringers we saw for a while was Malata.
Mhm.
And the name Malata, I mean, it has the Latin mal in it, which is bad. And so it's just like there's as soon as we met her, it's just like, okay, something's wrong.
And it ends with Lotta, so it's a lot of bad.
And she shows up with Taravangian and the diagram, and so it's like you instantly get this. I get defensive about that because you're with them.
But so
what, the diagram? You have issues with them?
It's just nice to actually have a positive spin on Dustbringers, because like I said, I still think Navani would have been a brilliant Dustbringer.
Well, that was the other thing that was interesting about all that was it brought, oh gosh, now I'm forgetting his name. The person that Rissyn
Talik?
was negotiating against. Talik, yes. We finally got to see Talik interact with someone who wasn't Rissyn.
Yeah, that was
Because he's the one interacting with Lopin, and Lopin's like, yeah, I was only king for a couple hours.
like,
you were a king for a couple hours? Yeah, it's complicated.
And it was nice to see an outside view of the Alethi from like the Reshi and the Herdazian.
The Herdazians.
And so just to kind of see that, they're trying, that they're trying to be good, but it's just encoded in them to go and conquer everybody. So, but that was just interesting to see, because so many of the other characters are Alethi or Vaden, and so it's much more the majority.
Well, you see this with in Oathbringer with Dalinar trying to bring everyone together, and part of the problem he's having is he's over here like, guys, I'm trying to be nice, and they're like, yeah, right. When are you gonna stab us?
Like, all we know about
like,
you is
no.
all that death and destruction back then. So we're real worried when you totally 180.
I'm trying to do things diplomatically.
It's like, see, I'm
And they're
being
just
nice.
like, we don't believe you. What's your angle, man?
Yeah, because he's got to have an angle.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things that it's because there's the more macro level, which is not the listeners, the singers and the fused, their view on humanity as a whole. And they're like, see, this is what humanity did to us. And it doesn't matter. It's been literal centuries, literal millennia, actually. And they still hold them responsible for this, and this is our view of humans, and this is something that we get to see a lot more of with Raboniel and Navani's interactions in the next book. But so you take that down to another layer. The Aegis are still skittish about the Alethi, because it's like, do you know what the Sunmaker did to us? And it's like, the Sunmaker was how long ago? But these are lessons that are learned culturally, and you don't unlearn those things, because culture does, like, there is something that carries down from generation to generation. And the very thing that caused the Sunmaker to go and conquer everyone is sort of the same thing that got Gavilar to go around and unite the rest of the Alethi. This is just how they think.
Well, and it's not just that. It wasn't that long ago that the Blackthorn was leading the crusade.
And was doing a storming good job of it, too.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway, I was just going to say the thing that caused them to start was, at least for Queen Fen, when Dalinar pulled her into the vision, it was just like, what do you want from me, woman? Like, I have been nice. I have been polite. I have done everything. And she's like, okay, so you are still him. I was worried that, like, and he's like, what, you wanted me to yell at you? And it's like, I didn't know what to believe, what was going on. Everything's all weird right now.
You're acting totally wrong for what I know of you.
And it gives you such a good look at who Finn is as well, because suddenly it's just like, oh, this is what she trusts. She trusts emotion because A,
The passions.
it's more genuine, and B, the passions.
Mm-hmm.
So
I love the phrase, I had passion for this. It's wrong in a way I like.
It's capitalized.
Okay. Well, we should probably take a break, but we will continue our discussion in just a minute. And so we will see y'all soon. And we're back. Okay, so just there's so much going on in this book, even though it's so small. I feel like I say that about every single short
It's this
book
little,
of Brandon's.
but it's still so much in it.
I think that's why I love a lot of Brandon's shorter works, because he's so efficient. Like we were talking earlier, how every character kind of has an arc that they go through. And this is one of the smaller books.
Yeah.
And so I think Brandon, when he has to, get smaller, he does better work. It's kind of like, I've heard it attributed to Mark Twain. I don't know if that's true or not, but the saying, I would have written a shorter letter, but I ran out of time.
Because you can condense it down.
Because condensing it and making making it, streamlining it and making it more
poppy or whatever you want to.
Better writing.
Yeah.
Just it takes a little bit more work, and I think when he's writing shorter, Brandon kind of ends up doing that.
He's forced to be very precise about everything. Not that he's not precise with his other ones, but he has to be even more precise with the short stories.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's be fair. We talk about Stormlight, and each book has gotten longer than the last.
Yeah.
So,
but the scale is also
much to the consternation.
Huge, yeah.
To the point where the publishers are actually having to figure out different binding techniques so that they can do it.
Yep.
But no, something that's so we were discussing the Sleepless earlier. I'm very fascinated by them trying to impersonate humans, how they're having to evolve Kremlings that have fake skin on them, essentially. And when Rissyn is below getting ready to bargain and Nickley starts forming, I liked her, like how she described it, how it's like, it kind of all stacks up, but it's loose at the start.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can see things. And then it's almost like when everyone, like if you're lifting something heavy with a bunch of other people, like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and lift, and you all go at the same time. It's just suddenly all of them like, all right, latch together and snap the puzzle pieces together.
It's Voltron times like 1,000.
Yeah.
It makes me think of sewing, like finishing up the dice, because I'll have it like the last part that I do, and there's like a gap a little bit, and then I cinch it and it goes, and just there you go.
I mean, it kind of is sewing when you think about it. Although I guess it's more like zipper, just because the legs are what interlock. Yeah. But I don't know. I love the idea of just it's this loose, fake skin that just has to click together like a puzzle.
Uh-huh.
Suck it in, everybody.
It's like I actually just today I was watching a video about wood joining. And like how he's carving in all these different
wood joining is pure freaking black magic.
Oh yes, but like the video was showing all these different joints that he was putting together, and then it just locks together and looks like a single piece, and it's just like, okay, this is witchcraft. But the way that they lock together, it's the same sort of thing. It just hooks together and works very well.
Well, and I like from Nickley's perspective, where he's talking about how his eyes are actual, can actually look.
Yeah. He's like, he's really proud of that he managed to do that versus everybody else. Their line of sight is off.
Well, I mean, can you do that?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so he deserves to be a little proud.
Yeah. Good job, Nickley.
But yeah, it is like it is actually, because what they're doing is essentially animal husbandry, except on a cellular level for them. Yeah. And so, because they're training, they're trying to get different hordlings for each specific piece of the body that they're forming. And so the fact that he got ones that actually get the eyes working, that would be a huge feat. He invented something that didn't exist before.
I don't know that I'd call it husbandry.
Well, he says they breed them.
Right, but it's more of a selective evolution. And it's like, I would make it more akin to just a hive mind.
Well, so I say husbandry just because you breed different types of horses for different types of.
You take this stallion and this mare and go, he has this trait, she has this trait. We want that trait.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing that's interesting is they are individual bugs. It's something that Risen talks about when they start like taking her offer. And it's like, we have to talk. We'll get an answer pretty quick, but it'll take us a bit. Mm-hmm. And they sort of dissolve because they got to go into whatever their communication, stuff is. And apparently that takes some time. And she notices the bugs are sort of moving around on their own. She's like, so there's some level of individuality to them. The same way if you take off a piece of us and put it under a microscope, those cells don't need us to do their thing.
Right. Well, that's why I say it's more like a hive mind, like an insect swarm.
Okay, I think the difference is husbandry is usually the care of the animals, not so much the breeding of the animals. That's probably what
breeding is part of husbandry, but it's only a part of it.
Yeah, when I think of husbandry, I usually think of the care like of their physical bodies versus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so, but the thing that's interesting about that is the fact that. I mean, imagine like the fact, because he talks about, it's like, oh, we're no different from you. We just, do it on a different level. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, we're way different because that's not a conscious thing that we get to do. That's sort of an automatic thing. We don't worry about each individual skin cell. Well, that just happens.
Well, and theirs is also evolution within a single individual, not individual, but rather like in a single generation.
Yeah.
Like I can't sit here and say, okay, I want to evolve my hands to be better. Evolution takes place on a much longer timeline than that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're able to sort of force it either through magic or through just sheer numbers, which, with bugs, you can definitely do that.
Bug lifespans are much, much smaller. And so you can do that. But again, because it's each, individual bug is part of a larger organism, it works slightly differently.
They're ant people.
I still want to know how do you kill a sleepless?
You kill all of their cremlings is my only guess.
Yeah, it just feels like it'd be easier to.
I feel like there was some mention that there was a brain or something like that. There were some cremlings that were the brain, and I think if you killed those, that's probably your best bet.
I feel like you'd keep your brain parts, safely elsewhere, wouldn't you?
I don't know. I'm just saying. I think that's probably your best bet to taking one out.
Because we do have from one of Dalinar's visions, like he sees a giant pile of cremlings that's been like burned, and he's like, "Why the crap would you do that?" And then we meet the sleepless later, and it's like, I think I know what that was. At the same time, why would you ever bring all of you to one battle? That just sounds unwise.
Yeah.
Because if you have the option to not take all of you to battle, you take that option.
Yeah, but perhaps like they have to all rejoin every so often or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, and then you have the weirdness of the fact that apparently they've evolved hordelings that are the size of buildings.
Yeah,
because that's what's fighting Huyo and Lopin.
That's right, yeah. They're scary.
And it's just sitting here. It's like, and like Nickley's like, okay, they're faring a bit better than we thought they would.
They keep doing better. Dang it!
At that point, the suffix "ling" doesn't really feel apropos.
No, well, no, because he's got a freaking Ultralisk out there. That's a joke for StarCraft fans.
And honestly, that's the comparison that I keep coming to is Zerg is like that's what the Sleepless remind me the most of.
They can build off of creep though, which is absolutely imba. Please, too strong. Please nerf.
Oh gosh.
There's at least 3 people that find that hilarious, and one of them podcasts with me. No. Well, there was one more scene that I really liked. And it was, I mean, we haven't really talked too much about it. Rissen's relationship with the captain.
Yeah.
And as Rissen starts to slowly put together, like, why is everyone on this ship so standoffish towards me? And Nickley's over here. It's like, well, it's probably because of your disability. It's, and she's like, I don't think it's that,
And it finally clicks.
And then it just clicks where she's like, I've only been thinking about it from my perspective. What does this look like from her perspective?
That the whiny brat gets to be captain even after it was looking like the captain, whose name I can't say, was all set up to do it and had done the work to get there.
And by all accounts, seems to be a good captain. And I also do like that Rissen has the thing where she's thinking, she probably thinks that she could do the deal. She doesn't understand that this is actually
what I was trained
it's
for.
A lot more. Yeah, it's a lot more difficult than it looks. Which of course it would. I mean, especially when it was done by Vistim, who's a master at it.
Yeah.
And part of the problem of watching a master do things is sometimes things that look easy, you have no clue it's not, because they just make it look easy.
Like the better you get at something, the more you make it look like it's not hard to do.
It was just one of those things that I really liked their dynamic, and the small things here and there that showed that Rissen really had grown, and had kind of grown twice, because she grew from being the brat to seeing things the way that Vistim did. And then she taught, we didn't see too much of it. We only got the one interlude from her when she's at Thalen City working at the gem reserve or whatever it was
bank,
called,
basically.
But we didn't see her during her, what was it, malaise, or I can't remember what the term she used for it, where she just felt like a burden to everyone and wasn't even trying, and she refers to it. And so it's interesting to see this version of her, and we just see her kind of, I talked about this last time we did Dawnshard, about how she takes the true heart of what a good salesperson is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be someone who's trying to sell you a bill of goods. It's supposed to be someone who's trying to find the product you need to buy.
Right.
I mean, I'm kind of glad they didn't show the super depressing parts, because having read that in other books, we don't need to read another depressing POV.
Yeah. But it's one of those things, because it's a very important part to understanding her. And I think he was able to sum it up enough, that it still worked. Yeah. And it was just one of those things that I thought, Brandon's talked about this, where, he's obviously a dreamer and stuff like that. You have to be an author on some level. But how his mother, who was an accountant, who was very skeptical of this whole, I'm going to be an author type of thing, how she gave him his business sense, because she was an accountant. And heck, we even got a heroic accountant in Warbreaker. And so he's done a good job of making out of nowhere people who you wouldn't normally talk about. You don't normally say the heroic merchant. That's not, something that we normally do, but he was able to make even the art of a good deal can be heroic in its own way. And it was because she was sitting here and being like, okay, what are their needs and how can I get what they need?
I think I talked about this the last time we talked about the book, but I mean, I used to work at a piano store, and there were two salesmen who I saw very, very different things. One was the owner and one was the manager of the store. And the manager was like, people would come in and he would try and sell them a piano. But the owner, people would come in and he would help them buy a piano. And it was a very, very different experience to watch, because the people who worked with the manager, a lot more of the time, they would come in later and regret their purchase and basically cancel the purchase before it's delivered. with the owner, it almost never happened because he wasn't trying to sell them something. He was trying to help them find what they were looking for, get it to them, and they were much happier with it.
And that's the thing that she talked about with the captain after they had the wormy meal. And she was able to be like, yeah, this is something Vistim. And she's like, this sounds like something, he would come up with. And she was able to explain the whole thing about how everyone has something they're looking for, but these nomads, they don't, what are the Hexy nomads? I think it was.
Like that, yeah.
They have to be, they want to be talked to a certain way. And so you have to approach it this way. And, she's going into the details of it. And you see that she really did, despite her being a brat, as she says, learned his lessons that he taught her. Well, heck, I think she even talks about in that scene in particular, she's looking through her notes and she's like, yeah, I was a brat then, but at least I was a brat that took good notes.
I took good notes, even if I was a brat. Yeah.
But that's also part of growing up is...
And yeah, you
acknowledging those things
and realizing that you thought the world was this big, but it turns out it's way bigger and you only understood this little bit. And it was nice to see her fully acknowledge that and be like, no, I really was like, I was a problem. I was kind of full of myself. I didn't want to do the work. I griped about stuff.
Well, and it wasn't what she thought it would be. Like she talks about how she thought it was going to be about going to palaces and trading for grand silks, and
then it's trading for chickens.
Yeah,
with soul Cosmeredle.
It's trading for chickens. It's getting grass. It's and all these other things that she's like, this wasn't what I signed up for. And it's like, actually,
it is.
It was
exactly.
You just didn't know it. Well, and that was the thing. Because I remember the captain being like, "Why isn't everyone here selling their wormy grain? This seems like a
great idea, a great place to do that." And she's like, "Yeah, but they'd mess up the relationship if you're not careful."
Yeah. Well, and they're out of the way. It's not gonna, it's the same. And then she realizes it later when she's talking to Cord, and she's like, "Yeah, but the peaks are so far away. You'll be fine." And it's like, yeah, but we have something way valuable, and yeah, it's not worth the trip right now.
But it will be. And then they'll overrun us.
Yeah. And then suddenly she realizes this is exactly like it was with the nomads. And I missed that.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to miss it because you just take things for granted. You assume everything that you think is the way that it is always the way that it is. Because that's just human nature. And it's a weird thing to say, human nature, in a story that has, literal bug people and, I mean, even the Herdazians are kind of a weird alien race. They're
a hybrid race. So.
With their fingernails and everything, yeah.
And so it's easy to forget these things, but Brandon does such a good job of, at the end of the day, even though they're still human. It's that, what's the term? Verisimilitude or whatever it is.
It's a big word.
Where where I talk like, even though it's an alien to us, its motivations, while its needs might not be ours, its motivations are the same. It still needs food, shelter, and love, like everything else. And so even though something's an alien, as long as it's acting on those base instincts that we understand, that it needs these needs met, we're okay with dealing with an alien.
Yeah.
We're okay with dealing with this Lovecraftian monster.
Just find some common ground.
Yeah. And it's just something that Brandon's really good at, is just showing us, yeah, this is a bizarre situation, but even if they're bizarre, and even if they are, in most situations, a horror movie monster.
You understand them. You empathize with them.
Yeah, and you get that, hey, this thing needs, they have this whole goal of protecting this ancient secret.
And
that's a very human thing, wanting to protect something. And we get it. We get why these things would kill to protect the Dawnshard, which we haven't even talked about that yet. But
yeah, there's
a Dawnshard in this book.
Oh yeah. Anyway, there's a quote from Nick Lee where he's like, "Listen, there are forces in the Cosmere that we can barely identify, let alone track. Evil forces who would end worlds if they could. They are hunting this place. Now that the ancient guardians of Akina are all but extinct, we Sleepless must protect it." So that gives a whole extra weight to, if the Sleepless, who know all of these things and have been around for so much longer, if there's still stuff that they're scared of and don't know about, then oh boy, it's even scarier than you think out there. Which makes you wonder what it is they're worried about. What is this force that they don't understand?
Well, and something that's interesting is, I didn't catch this the last time, when she's looking at the Dawnshard, she gets what I almost would call maybe like a vision of when it was used to shatter Adonalsium.
Yeah.
And we get like I almost wonder if it's like Adonalsium's feelings during the shattering or something.
Because, I mean, do we know if the Dawnshards were part of Adonalsium?
We know they were they were the commands used to create the universe, or however it was stated in the story.
Okay.
And then they used it to shatter Adonalsium.
So it may not have been Adonalsium proper, but it was attached, like it was associated in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, but it has the whole thing, how she's staring at it, and like she has this impression of almost resignation and like not even anger at them doing this thing. And then suddenly she's like, well, that was weird. Why is everything so colorful?
That's later on. She notices the color and she's like, huh, that's extra bright. That's extra colorful. Has it always been that way? And we're all like, oh,
the colors, cheery. The colors.
Wait, why does your voice sound musical?
Wow, your pitch is terrible. Your pitch is great.
Well, and I like that it's a very, very subtle nod to, awakening and the
heightening, the heightenings.
The heightenings.
Mm-hmm. Which makes you go, okay, how many heightenings is she at? We don't know.
Well, and it gets to the whole thing of how all the magic systems are related. And you can get similar effects with the different systems.
To the point where when I read the description of the mural in the book, I actually pictured the allomancy chart. Because it's a circle split into four quadrants, which are split into four different
four different sections. So it's 16 overall, yeah.
Which, considering, I mean, that was literally the point of allomancy, was to be a reference to
Adonalsium, yeah.
To this, to Adonalsium. Well, it makes a lot of sense.
There's a lot of speculation on, what the four Dawnshards could possibly be, because we know this one is change, and there's all sorts of speculation on what the other three would be. And I've seen, it was like change. Well, would that be? Let's see, cultivation and ruin, and it's just sort of
and progression, or wait, no, not progression. That's
endowment, perhaps, or who knows.
Anyway.
Like there again, lots of speculation.
But it's just one of those things that when she gets to it, she talks about how like she can feel this heat radiating off of it. And it's interesting because she doesn't notice it until she studies it. And even though she's absorbed it, Nick Lee doesn't notice it until he starts studying it, that it's gone. It's this immensely powerful thing that can shape and break gods, yet it's also so subtle that it can be not noticed.
Yeah.
Which, powers of creation, that's an interesting dichotomy. It's not what I would have assumed at the very minimum.
So a little bit of speculation, and I'm not speculating. I'm asking if y'all want to speculate a little bit on it, though, because we know now we've seen two Dawnshards. because we know this. There's this one, and then there's one that Hoyd had.
Yeah.
And we know that Hoyd's was associated with a torment, as it was called.
Mm-hmm.
Any speculation on if this one has a similar sort of rule or torment associated with it?
I imagine it probably would, because I don't know why you would have one Dawnshard that only gives you good things or is only neutral, and then you have one that's only bad, unless they
I'm just using torment because that's the word that they use. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. That just means, like, I'm just saying
that
what sort of effects might be associated.
It inhibits you in some way.
Because we do have the whole thing where, because Hoyd does say something to the effect of, that's how you view it. Because we also see Nomad have to, like, he can sort of do things if he sort
gets
of
creative,
does mental
gymnastics
mental gymnastics to be like, okay, don't think about elephants, don't think about elephants, don't think about elephants. Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, so I wonder if it is that change does not have the same kind of torment or same kind of way that it's inhibiting Risen. I wonder if I wonder if the one that Hoyd and then Nomad have is one about creation or preserving, because that would explain not eating meat, not being able to hurt people. That would, I could see that
if you look at ruin and preservation as diametrically opposed shards, that means they would probably be associated. If the assumption that each of the four is associated with one of them, then you would assume that they were probably associated with diametrically opposed Dawnshards.
Yeah.
Well, and it makes sense to, like, change might not have a torment if it's because what would be a torment of change type of thing? Like, it might be impossible to stagnate. Like, maybe she can't settle down roots or something. Holding still might be difficult, which would be ironic for someone who's tied to a chair. But, maybe that's it. But luckily she's on a ship. Luckily she's constantly moving. And that's also kind of what's going on. Now that I'm saying that, it's interesting that it seemed to be calling to her on some level once she got there. It almost makes me wonder if this is the Dawnshard of change, if it didn't like on some level that it was just staying there inside of Myrtle.
If it was stagnated there and it wanted transitions. Yeah.
Like, obviously we don't have a lot to compare it to, because even though we know that Sigil had this thing and so did Hoyd, we still haven't seen that specific shard in action. Or that Dawnshard in action. But I don't know. It's interesting that it goes for someone who her ship is literally the wander sail. That's the whole point, is to move about.
Yeah.
And she's shown a great propensity for changing already.
Yeah. And I mean, she's gone through several big changes in her life. And so I wonder if her having done that, instead of being someone who's been able to stay on the same trajectory and not have to transition, made her more attractive to the Dawnshard. That she would be.
I also like how she's able to sort of talk to them about, you have this thing and it's only you're not using it. And so it's going to keep bringing people here. You need to use this to actually make a deal because you need help.
Yeah. And she's like, and I'm the least likely person they're going to look at for it. They're not going to assume.
Brandon does like the trope of hidden in plain sight. Because he also did that with the Bands of Mourning.
Fair.
But it's one of those things where it is sort of the whole, there's no way they would give it to her because that'd be a liability. And at the same time, I like her idea of the layered lie.
That there's more plausibility. And by sticking fairly close to the truth, it makes that lie far more believable compared to fully stretching it out. And then you can poke holes in it right and left versus you're telling most of the truth and you're just leaving out one little tidbit that happens to be a Dawnshard. And you just go from there. And you do
and
give
it's
quite
all
a bit of truth to it.
It's also interesting from the Sleepless perspective because they're telling Nickley, it's like, look, we've done this for generations upon generations. This is how it's done. This is how it's worked. It's going to continue to work. And I'd never considered that from the Sleepless perspective, that as much as they didn't like, the Recreants and they have fought alongside the Radiants against the Fused and such, all humanity getting reset every couple of generations was actually really helpful for them in containing the Dawnshard, because as long as they don't have ships that can breach the storm,
good.
It's safe. And it's now that they're getting the technology, and so they're sitting here, it's like, no, it's always worked, but they don't they're refusing to see the underlying problem that humanity is advanced too far. It's not going to keep working short of wiping humanity out, because you just keep creating more mysteries. People want to see what this place is, what's there. There's all these legends.
And it doesn't help that the storm had gotten weaker around the island.
Yeah.
So they're like, so we're doubly in trouble.
Which, that's interesting.
I wonder
the storm got weaker.
I wonder if either the Everstorm has messed with it, or the fact that the Everstorm has been released has messed with it. I wonder if I'm guessing it's one of the two. I'm not sure which one, but that's my postulation.
Well, so there was an interesting theory. We were discussing the Oath Pact last week, and how there's one of the things they talk about is how there's a storm around Braze or Ashen. Where do they go back
Braze.
after the die?
Yeah, Braze.
There's like a permanent storm around Braze, and this was something that was discussed on one of the episodes of 17th Shard, and it's just interesting because it sounds very similar to the concept of what's going on in Akina. That there's this permanent storm that's preventing people from going in and out. And it's just one of those things that I wonder if there's some sort of connection there.
I don't know.
Okay.
That it's some similar principle or magic or something that's creating it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was just an interesting, when I can't remember which one of them posited it, but they did. And I was just sort of like, that's an interesting parallel I hadn't even begun to consider.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I meant to bring up that I love that Cord said no to you will protect her, right? And she's like, no, I'm not a warrior.
She's like, I'm not trained for this. I've got the armor, yes, but I'm not trained for that.
But I like that she came back and she's like, okay, so I got to go do this. And then after that, I am all you. Like, it was just sort of okay, this is an interesting negotiation. Because so many times you have these sorts of negotiations and it's like the unknowable beings are the ones who basically dictate the terms. And Cora's just like, I can't do that. I've got a loyalty here and I got to make sure that happens. But then I'll be back and I'll do exactly what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Well, especially because, again, she's like, I can't protect anyone.
Yeah, I've got the armor, but I got to work on the rest of it. Yeah, because she doesn't have a blade.
I love that she tried to do the whole "I have tricked you" spread. Like, I followed the rules of the legends, and now you can't do it because I am the daughter of he who drew the first bow. And this was the Ancient Pact, and Nickley's sitting there. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
Any of that said.
What is that?
You don't? No. Okay, and then she's like, "Can I speak with her for a second?" It's just very cartoony. Yeah. It's like, okay, the usual stuff isn't working.
Well, it's not just the usual stuff. It's like, oh, I thought that you and essentially Hoyd were connected because it sounds like they've got some sort of pact in place with Hoyd, and so.
Yep. Well, I just love the concept. She's like, "Yeah, we're supposed to trick him with the stories, but
it's not going well."
So what do you got? What do you you got? Anything?
I used all my cards. What do you got? I'm out.
Well, it's under the trope of wrong genre savvy. Like she's it's like, aha, I know this story, and then Nikki's over here. That's not this type of story. No, okay, well,
let's reset that.
What's Plan B? Plan B. We got Plan B.
It's like it's like you're in a horror story and somebody like tries to shoot a vampire with a silver bullet, and it's like, that's werewolves, genius.
Wrong one.
Wrong genre savvy is one of my favorites.
Wrong genre savvy is great.
Oh man.
But no, I don't know. Cord's one that I could see maybe we get more of going forward.
I hope so, yeah.
I'm looking. Well, and I do love that when we see her in Rhythm of War, she is using a shard bow, and it's like, oh, she is Daddy's little girl,
good job.
Murdering people with shard bows.
Well, she's actually using the same one, isn't she?
Probably.
I mean, she'd be the only one that could have a claim on it.
Yeah, because I think it says she's using Amaram's shard bow, which is the one that
it was used. Yeah,
that Rock used. So.
But Rock drew it without shard plate.
Because he's Rock.
He's Rock.
Well, I mean, it's also, she talks about how he's strengthened by the Spren. Like, they help him do things he shouldn't. Which makes me, and she's like, I don't have this gift. He does. And which makes you sit there and go like, okay, so what does that mean though? Because you are now Horneater number, let's see, count 2. You're Horneater number 2. So I don't know what normal is here.
Yeah, we've got super strong strength and Spren. Yeah, so like I wonder if in the future potential Rock book that his connection with the Spren gets him to not die, because I really don't want him to die.
Nobody wants him to die.
No. So I'm hoping something saves it.
Well, and there's a part of me that's just like, they've leaned really hard into hints that he's gonna die or that he has died, and it's just like, but I don't think he's gonna die. They would not take Rock out off screen.
No, that would not be okay. I mean, it would be terrible, but I could see them doing it. An interlude doesn't feel right. Doesn't feel right to do an interlude either, because it's too small.
But he's getting his own book, and so
there's hope. There's hope.
Well, there's hope, but there's also fear.
I know.
But it's just, I want to know why he's blessed by the Spren to do these things, that because it's not just like he is huge. Like, he's always drawn as being far bigger than the rest of them, but it's not just that, because there's definitely more going on with him in his connection with the Spren than everyone else's.
Well, I've also kind of picked up, who knows if these are actual intentional hints, but I'm picking up hints that Rock is going to somehow be connected to the Stone Wards and the Peak Spren. But who knows? All right, well, we should probably start wrapping up.
Indeed.
So, anything that we should hit before we do that, though?
I just love all of the little character interactions that go on. They're really fun to see all those conversations and people that you didn't think would talk to each other, and it's really fun that way.
Yeah. And we will have time for final thoughts. If there's any main discussion points
we've touched on a lot of them.
Still hit. Cool. All right. Well, to our listeners, we love hearing from you. So please keep sending in questions. You can ask us about the Cosmere. You can drop us your ideas for topics you'd like us to discuss during the show. And while you're at it, we would absolutely love to hear how you think we are doing, as well as any interesting theories that you might have about what's going on in the Cosmere, especially right now on Roshar. You can send all your questions and suggestions in a brief, concise email to cosmerestudies@gmail.com, and hopefully we could read that as part of the show. The Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, you can also reach us at our P.O. Box 970063, Orem, Utah 84097. We've got our own personal projects going on outside the show, so Jordan, why don't you lead us off and let us know what you've got going on? I think you've been cooking some stuff up.
Yes, I finally got my video game show off the off the ground. It's called The Quizzard, and I'm very proud of that title. And we started it on Saturday. I am looking for more people to participate, and as such, I wanted to play a mini game with Amy here.
Oh, okay.
Normally this is played with 2 people, so don't feel too much pressure. But basically, one of the mini games we have is called Theme Work, where you're given a theme, so everything is related to this theme, and you have to then give the answers that follow. So the theme for this one is colors. Every answer will have a color of some kind in the answer.
Okay.
In the name.
Okay. So Tim Curley Hates Capitalism strategy game.
Sorry, I don't know who Tim Curley is.
No,
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry.
So say it again. Tim Curry.
Tim Curry Hates Capitalism strategy game. This one is probably Red Alert.
Oh, I was going to say Clue. Because that's
that is Tim Curry.
That is Tim
You need
Curry.
color.
But
you need a color in the title. So Red Alert.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know this game.
Yeah, no worries. Valve video game collection.
Orange box.
Indeed. Proto Man's real name?
Is that that's not Mega.
Proto Man is Mega Man.
Mega Man. It's blue. He's blue.
Blues.
Blues. Is
Blues.
He?
Blues.
Okay, I didn't know.
No,
That's his name.
He's actually Red, but yeah, his character name is Blues because they're all named after different music types.
Oh, okay. See, I never knew these things.
Mega Man's Rock. Roll is Roll.
His sister.
And Proto Man's Blues.
Oh, there you go.
Third game of Gen 1.
I don't know this.
Pokemon Yellow.
Oh, see, like I know that now, but I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's the reaction I'm hoping for if you don't get it. Is you're like, Half-Life spinoff where you play as a security guard.
Half-Life spinoff as you.
This one might be too
This one's probably
old
too
for you.
niche.
So
Yeah, it's Half-Life Blue Shift.
yeah, like I'm hit and miss with the Half-Life stuff.
A lot of people are, I'm learning. No one got that one either. Kirby Stage and Smash Bros. This one also might be too niche for you. This is definitely my wheelhouse, though.
Oh, I don't know which stages are associated with which ones. I know he's pink, but I don't know of a stage that has a color.
Yeah, so the stage is actually called Green Greens.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't keep track of. I know there's like the ones with like Sega or like
yeah.
Sonic. Yeah. But I don't remember what those things are called.
Then the last one was just me being cheeky. Sonic game with wisps in them.
With wisps?
Have you not kept up on your modern Sonic lore?
I have not kept with my Monarch. No, I'm Sega Genesis era.
The same, but the name of it was Sonic Colors.
I'm sorry, I'm not a very good player on this particular game.
No, it's fine. Bill couldn't do it because he actually helped me come up with everything.
Okay.
So
yeah.
Well, not everything, but at least that one.
Some of them, so he had a leg up on it. Yeah.
And so that's the type of stuff we have on it. It's been a lot of fun. I hope more people show up on Saturday because I want to play this with more people.
I wish you luck.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, Amy, how about you? Why don't you let us know what you've been up to?
So if you were there for the in-between break part, I talked about some of it, but I am working on my last set of Mud Trooper jacket and pants. So I'm hoping that's not very photogenic though to talk about. But I keep meaning to put up more of my past stuff, but I should have some more muddy pictures, some more. I think
that is a weird sentence.
Muddy picture. Well, we call it. It's the Mud Trooper is what it is, and so we jokingly call ourselves Muddy Buddies.
I've just never heard it's a muddy picture.
It's a muddy picture. Hey, Muddy Buddies. Mud Scuffers is the other name we go by. That's our more official one. It's actually been on the Spec Ops Facebook group, which is kind of cool.
Muddy Buddies is way more fun.
It's so much more fun, and we did it on some salt flats over by the Saltaire. And so it was very much muddy.
Nice.
So it was totally our space. But no, I'm just trying to catch up on stuff and get things that I have been doing posted. And yeah, so I'm just kind of hit and miss with what I'm actually posting. But I'm doing some sewing. I'm doing hopefully some 3D prints and stuff like that and getting them finished up. So I'm kind of all over the place. But my socials are my Facebook is Coincidence Cosplay and Props. My Twitter is @CoincidenceCosp because my name is too long. My Instagram is @coincidence_cosplay. My TikTok is @coincidencecosplay. And my website is www.coincidencecosplay.com.
Cool. As for myself, I'm going to promote the other podcast that Jordan has put together with us and a bunch of other aging, middle-aged gamers at this point. It's called I Think We Overleveled. Essentially, he has gathered a bunch of our friends from college and other place, and we just sort of sit and reminisce about the good old days when it comes to gaming.
I'm very excited for this next episode, actually.
So our most recent episode, we talked about remasters and remakes, which is a weird gamer version of Dungeons and Dragons, I've decided. And the next...
It's the tabletop game that actual D&D characters play when they want to get away from slaying dragons.
Exactly. And our next episode, I'm intrigued with this because we're going to do a deep dive into Final Fantasy VI, which is a game that I absolutely love and one that Jordan has said he never intends to play. So
I will never touch it. It's not going to happen. But it sort of got brought up, and several of the co-hosts started going off on it, and I just
it's a great game.
Let me just wind these fans of it up and just see what happens. So if you like Final Fantasy VI, that's going to be on Wednesday at 8:30 Mountain Time
on youtube.com/splice stream.
Yeah, my YouTube channel.
I don't know this one very much at all. And it's not Cloud. No.
No.
That's
somebody has some fan art or something that has him in that, and I was like, what?
No, Final Fantasy VI was the last pixel-based one that came out.
So I don't know those super well.
I love it. I guess they came out with others later, but
FF6 it was actually so here in the States it was FF3, wasn't it?
It was. And that's how
it's
I knew
that
it
weird thing where they renumbered them when they came over here to the States because they didn't bring all of them, and then they doomed us to confusion for all of time.
Yep, they skipped 3 and 5 here, and so. And then eventually released 3 and 5, and so now it's just sort of well, what are you talking about? Anyway, all right, so. For those of you who want to support the Sandersonian Institute of Cosmere Studies, but you can't become patrons just yet, we would love it if you'd let your friends know about the show. Spread the word. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, to like and subscribe over on youtube.com/Cosmere Studies. Leave a comment on YouTube, start a discussion. There's probably stuff that we missed, and if there's something that we missed that you want to, weigh in on, it's definitely worth commenting over there. And if you want to toss us a good review wherever you listen to us, we would absolutely love that. You can also go to store.streamelements.com/Cosmere Studies for our branded merch. All right. Final thoughts.
I like Crispin. She does lots of good things.
I like Crispin too.
She's so cute. I love when she comes in and she's like, "Rawr! You don't touch her." Rawr, rawr, rawr.
Rawr, rawr, rawr.
Yes.
I liked realizing that the Sleepless are Scooby-Doo villains, and I think that makes Lopin and Rua Shaggy and Scooby.
Does that make Rua? Wow, that's amazing.
I had to do that.
All right. Well, in addition to the live episodes of the show that stream on youtube.com/Cosmere Studies every 2 weeks on Monday nights at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, listeners can find our videos on YouTube or audio versions of the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and just about any other service that carries podcasts by searching for Cosmere Studies. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook under the profile @Cosmere Studies. For our next episode, we are going to be finishing up our Stormlight reread with Rhythm of War. After that, we'll be having Katie Payne on to talk about the Stormlight RPG Kickstarter, and then if we have done our calculations and pure speculation right, we're hopefully going to start getting some preview chapters of Wind and Truth. Hopefully. We don't speak for Brandon, so who knows. But first, Rhythm of War. So join us in chat for that live discussion on Monday, July 29th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Time, 10:30 p.m. Eastern at www.youtube.com/Cosmere Studies. Until then, on behalf of Amy, Jordan, and myself, thanks for listening. And remember, there's always
another
There's
secret.
always another secret.